Okay, we have head coach Stephanie White do a quick opening statement, questions in the room, and time if we have time on Zoom.
I thought our group came out in the second half and really got back to what we do, particularly on the defensive end of the floor. I know I talked about it pregame, but the first half it was just like it was before. We were a step slow on the defensive end. We weren't up at the point in on-ball screen actions, and their movement caused us problems and put us in rotation because of it. And I felt like our effort on the defensive end in the second half was outstanding, and that allowed us to give ourselves a bit of a cushion and get out in transition. And then our ball movement offensively, ball and player movement offensively was much better. And that's what we've got to get to consistently.
Questions? Anyone like to start?
All right, let's go.
Emily, go ahead. I figured you'd have one.
A little bit less productive night for AT, but she's still the second highest plus minus for you guys. I mean, just intangibly, what did you feel like she did best tonight?
It's hard to say. We keep track of like screen assists and hockey assists, and she won both of those categories tonight. So, there's so many things that she does really well, and so many intangibles that don't show up on the stat sheet. Getting big defensive stops, changing up coverages, plugging gaps for us on the defensive end of the floor, and then being a ball mover on the offensive end of the floor. It felt like it stuck in her hands a little bit in the first half, and we tried to get it to her in different positions and get a little bit more movement around her in the second half. But all of those things, I mean, becoming a willing screener off the ball is just as important for us as it is with her on the ball. And then making the pass that gets the assist, being a ball mover is important, and she did a great job tonight.
Matt?
Hi, Coach. That price says in the report. Taisha Harris, she was 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 14 points and 6 assists. Can you talk about the spark that she seemed to get you guys with to have in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, she just keeps getting better. She keeps getting more confident on both ends of the floor. She's a shot maker. In fact, I told her tonight I'm going to start finding her $5 every time she passes up an open shot. And so, I think the biggest thing for her is just continuing to manage the game while looking for her shot and while being aggressive. She's a scoring point guard, and she's got to look at herself that way and feel confident enough to take those shots. I felt like for her defense wasn't as good as it could have been in the first half, and I thought she really did an outstanding job in the second half of setting the tone for us on the defensive end.
Christine?
You mentioned earlier how people can talk to you guys about the record, and you're 9-0, but in the locker room, you're not really celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's because of this group being full of veterans that they know what the prize is and what the goal is, and they're still focused on that, and that's why you're not really looking at the small victories after that?
100%. I mean, this is a group that they've been to championships, right? They've been playing for WNBA championships. They understand, what it takes. And yes, it's great that we're 9-0, but it just turned June, and this doesn't really mean anything when it comes to September and October. Certainly, we want to position ourselves for success when it comes to seeding and things like that. But at the same time, we understand it's a long season. We understand that it's a season that there's a lot of ups and downs, right? There's a lot of ebbs and flows, and we got to be able to manage that, not just through the course of the game, but through the course of the season. And we certainly want to be playing our best basketball. But we also know it's going to get tougher with a lot more games in a short period of time, and being able to do the things that we have to do to make sure that we're fresh and ready to go, and executing and not digging ourselves holes early in ball games, so that maybe we get a little bit of cushion as the game goes on is important as well.
Any other questions in the room? Michael on Zoom. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Coach White, with Brianna Jones, you talk about just how, to me, like she's come back really well. She said it took her a while, but I think now after tonight, she's probably shooting close to 63% from the field. For a player to be out a year and then come back and do that, I wonder if you can just put in perspective, obviously it's been a lot of work on her part, but how she's been able to do that.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you're 100% correct. It's been a ton of work. Certainly, her being able to to be around a team when she was working at Maryland and be on the sidelines and coach and see the game from a different perspective helps from a mental standpoint, but also the commitment that she made to her rehab, to coming up here to work with our strength and conditioning coaches, to work with our player development coach, to get with our doctors, is really important. It takes so much self-discipline in the off season in this league to make sure that you're ready to go. And that's not just coming back from injury, but especially coming back from injury. And, she's a pro. She's a pro's pro. She does her job. She understands what it takes. But anybody who's had injuries and surgeries understands that sometimes it's hard when you're by yourself. And I'm thankful for her that she had her Maryland family around her to help her through that. And yeah, in her mind, it took her a little bit through training camp, through those first couple of weeks of the season, timing, rhythm, conditioning, all of those things to come back. But I guess pleasantly surprised at how quickly she's gotten back to form and how it looks easy. It's not easy, but how impactful she's been able to be for us already this season.
We'll go to Blake on Zoom. Thanks.
Hey, Coach. This is Blake Sperdower from Blake's Take and WNBA Swish. The team had 33 points in the Washington scored 33 points in the second half. What did you think of the defensive execution and your team energy on defense?
It was what the expectation is for us in the second half. In the first half, it wasn't. I feel like, I think we held them to like 25% from the floor in the second half. But our energy, our intensity at the point, our ability to play through multiple actions, because Washington is a tough team to guard. They run multiple actions. Players are constantly in motion. That ball moves and pops, and it's not easy. I felt like our discipline was terrific. Our identity is a strong defensive team, and we've got to make sure that we can control that, and we have to do that, every game consistently. And I didn't feel like we had that the first half, but we regained it in the second half in a big way, and it was huge for us.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks. Natalie, go ahead.
Last time against DC, Carlos English had 18 points, this time only 9. How did you approach that matchup this time around, and what was working for you defensively?
Yeah, we had a different matchup. Obviously, with Sykes not on the floor, we moved some people around, and I think DB being able to check her, using her length, trying to make her, shoot over an outstretched arm, and she didn't have as much space. DB's able to cover a lot of ground because of her size and length, and so I think just trying to make things difficult for her. She didn't get as many attempts, I don't think, because I think we did a pretty good job of guarding our yard one-on-one, especially in the second half, so there weren't as many drive and kick rotation opportunities for her. So I give DB a ton of credit for what she did on the defensive end.
Sharika?
Yeah, I know you guys want to celebrate or at least, settle on this one before looking ahead until Saturday. But there is a big game against New York coming up, and for the last couple of years, that's been one of the testy teams that you guys have had to face. Would you say that is, and no disrespect to any other team, would you say that would be a good litmus test for where this team is, or how are we approaching Saturday, just coming off where you guys have been?
Yeah, I guess if you look at the history of our team and our series with New York, on paper, certainly, I just think this team has a different mentality. I think that the experience that Ty now has, she's different. The experience that Nay has and now is accepting in a starting role, she's different. DB had a full off season to rest, recover, and come back hungrier. Breezy's on the floor. It's different. We have experience with Rachel and Tiff. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think Liv looks stronger than she was a year ago. So we can give a little bit more resistance on the interior. At the end of the day, when you look at New York's roster and the amount of, Olympians, potential Olympians, all league players that they have. But at the same time, you look at our roster and the way that we're playing right now, I think that for us, it's approaching it as step number 10, right? Like this, yes, it's New York, but again, it's June. And again, how do we position ourselves for success? How do we continue to gain confidence? How do we make them uncomfortable? And how do we see where we need to be to beat them in a series when it comes to the postseason? It's just the next step in our journey, and it comes against an outstanding team. So I think we're excited about the opportunity that we have in front of us on Saturday.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.